market. The second workshop, value chain workshop that I highlighted, indicated that cowpea farmers are not able to access funding because there's no structured market for cowpea. The second workshop, and to get a structured market, you need products, commercial products, so that there are off-takers, people who are willing to sign contracts, and therefore you would have the financiers, the bankers willing to give loans to the cowpea farm. And so we work with scientists from University of Ghana, Consumer Sciences, food scientist, Dr. Neil Ante, Emisa, the sister is here. He developed this unique product from cowpea flour, cowpea that's canned, that's ready to go, like baked beans. You know, it's richer than baked beans, from what I told you. So you should know that this is far better. We have jollof, cowpea jollof, canned. And he opened it after three or 4 years, and we tasted it. It was still, you should know that the shelf life is also long. So we also have WACCI, and he canned WACCI. And we have the flour mixed for baking. We tasted it was for other purposes. We have cowpea stew, shito, and I'm a vegan, so I'm vegan. I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat. And so cowpea is very, very important for me as a vegan, personally. And so to see that we can do shito without using fish and other meat products tells me that there's hope for vegans as well. Now, we are calling for partnerships from government, and so from the private sector, from NGO, and our members of parliament who are here. We hope you can help us engage more the farmers, and then also develop these materials, have all the traits that they want, so that the farmers will be able to produce, and then the food imports will also reduce. We actually import a lot of cowpea, and then also, which is strange. We import a lot of cowpea. And so we are calling for investments in this breeding program, and we hope that and then we can find the money here. We actually import for us to do the yield trials, so that we can see a lot of those lines that are giving us more than 200 pods, to see them in the field and see them across different locations and see their performance, and then we can release them. Yield trials. So there are many other studies we want to do, and we are like Oliver Twist asking for more. So see them across. Let's sow smart cowpeas, see their performance, and harvest bold returns. There are many other studies. With your investment, we can reach 250,000 farmers. So with our innovations that we have developed locally, and harvest to impact the livelihoods of more than 1.2 million farmers, and create millions of jobs in this cowpea value chain. Thank you. The livelihoods of more than
I think I should give him the Gobe man. Thank you so much, Dr. Eleblu. We move on to Dr. Nalamle Emisa, the potato woman. Yeah, those of us who love potato chips. I think I should give him the Gobe man. Thank you so much, Dr. Eleblu. We move on to Dr. Nalamle Emisa, the potato woman. Yeah, those of us who love potato chips.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy today to share insights on a crop that holds transformative potential for food systems in West Africa. We will explore this journey from an underutilized tuber to a candidate for staple crop status. So my name is Nalam Neamisa, and I'll be leading this presentation. We will explore this journey. As you all know, we rely heavily on a narrow set of staple crops. This creates several problems for us, vulnerabilities, especially with climate volatility and a growing population. Diversification, I must say, isn't just a trend it is a resilient strategy. And for potato, a nutrient-dense, climate-resilient, and locally adapted crop holds promise to that effect. Now, let's talk a little bit about fava potato. Though lesser known, the fava potato is culturally embedded in local diets. Agronomically, it thrives in marginal soils and under harsh conditions, and is a true asset for smallholder farmers in northern Ghana. It is referred to as the hunger crop because it is used to bridge the hunger gap in the lean season when major crops like sorghum, maize, etc. are not available. And it's a true asset for small. Its nutritional profile outperforms many conventional tubers in protein, iron, calcium, and vitamin A. So we are looking at this in relation to sweet potato and yam. Our food system faces rising stress from environmental shocks and market fluctuations. And diversifying into crops like fava potato will not only strengthen resilience, it will expand farmer income and contribute to a long-term nutrition security, which is a win-win for system health and livelihoods. Now, our engagement with farmers identified traits that they value most. So their consumers in particular are looking at large tuber sizes. Farmers are looking at high-yielding potent varieties, pest and disease-resistant crops, short maturation period. So you're looking at maturation between below 100 days or not more than 150 days. We are looking at tuber crops that will actually last, have a long shelf life, and of course, ones that are drought tolerant as well. Short maturation period. So you're looking at these guided our selection and evaluation of accessions because adoption, as we all know, starts with practical benefits for the producer. So through a seed grant that my team and I received from WACCI, we sought to identify promising genetic materials for improvement of fava potato to sustain its production and utilization. We went on further to determine morphological, agronomic, and yield characteristics of fava potato accessions that we had collected from Ghana and Burkina Faso. And also we identified accessions that can serve as breeding material and a foundation for those that can be further evaluated for release as varieties. During this process, we characterized over 1,000 accessions of fava potato from Ghana and Burkina Faso, and we evaluated them for their agronomic and yield traits. So we started with a little over 1,000 fava potato varieties. It was actually a joy to see what the field looked like. And then what we did was to narrow it down to the top 10 accessions that we could from Ghana as well as from Burkina Faso. And what we did was to carry out multi-locational trials in 3 of our agroecological zones. We worked in the Upper East, Upper West, and then the Eastern region of Ghana. From then, through farmer participation, etc., we selected the best 5 genotypes. And I'm happy to say that these genotypes have been released. So we have 5 additional fava potato varieties that have been released from the seed grant that we got from WACCI. From these five outstanding genotypes, in addition to these 5 outstanding genotypes that have been released, considering consumer preferred traits, that have, sorry, these five outstanding genotypes, in addition to these five outstanding genotypes, we have also developed tissue culture protocols for Fafa potato, so that if we have a unique Fafa potato type with high nutrients, etc., that we need to rapidly multiply, we have the protocols in place to do that. We've also developed these new varieties can yield up to about between 25 to 28 tons per hectare, compared to the previous varieties that were yielding between 15 to 25 tons per hectare, significantly boosting our farmers'
These new
returns. Beyond yield, we are building a genetic foundation as well that will support long-term breeding and secure Fafa potatoes' future. This initiative has the potential to contribute to five of our SDGs, from zero hunger and good health to decent work and environmental stewardship. Fafa potato isn't just a crop, it's a catalyst for change. This initiative has the potential to contribute to five. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, to move Fafa potato from an underutilized tuber to a candidate for staple crop status, there's the need for support. We envision a phase strategy where will establish genetic improvements through sequencing and trait identification. We are looking at seed system development for broader farmer access. Then looking at agronomic optimization to refine productivity. We are looking at policy advocacy to institutionalize its role. And lastly, monitoring and scaling aligned with regional food security goals. Then looking at agronomic. Ladies and gentlemen, this roadmap, I believe, positions the Fafa potato to step into a role of a true staple crop. To achieve this, we need your support. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this roadmap, I believe, positions the Fafa potato to step into a role.
The lady has set the tone for shorter presentations. And then on that note, I would take 20 minutes cocoa break. I hope you understand cocoa break. I didn't say coffee. Cocoa break. Please set up right in front just when you're about entering the auditorium. And then we'll reconvene for the remaining 3 presentations. Thank you. I hope you understand cocoa break. I didn't say coffee. Cocoa break. Please set up right in front just when you're about entering the auditorium. And then we'll reconvene for the remaining 3 presentations. Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back from the cocoa break. Before we continue, let me acknowledge the presence of some of our dignitaries. We have in our midst distinguished ladies and Mr. Johnson Massagotin Singer. If I get your name, the pronunciation wrong, kindly pardon me. Mr. Joshua Anufu Taylor, agricultural specialist from the USDA, US Embassy Accra. Please let's put our hands together for them. Mr. Johnson Massagotin. And we have a member of the WACCI Sectorial Advisory Board, Mr. William Corte. Please let's hear it for us. Specialist from the USDA. Thank you so much. US Embassy. We continue with our presentation, and we are on the salad man. Well, because of the tomato, he does other things too. He's into Bambara beans too. So let's put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Ajiman Dankwa, the Deputy Director for Research, Innovation and Development. Please, as usual, all the speakers have 10 minutes, after which, when we get to the open forum, we have our questions. Thank you. So let's put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Ajiman Dankwa, the Deputy Director for Research,
Good morning,
Innovation
ladies and gentlemen.
Development.
My name is Ajimai Dankwa,
Sure. All the speakers have
and
10 minutes.
I don't
after
like cucumber.
we have our questions.
Yes, so at least that makes one person here in the room who doesn't like cucumber. But I haven't met anybody who doesn't like tomatoes. My name is Ajimai Dankwa. But you can show by hand if you don't like tomatoes. Like cucumber. So today I'll be talking to you about some of the things that we are doing that we believe would help us transform the tomato industry and also be able to curb the seasonality that we have in our production. So today I'll be talking to you about some of the things that tomato is one of the most important vegetable in Ghana. In fact, it accounts for over 40% the seasonality that we have. Money is committed to vegetable purchase in households. It is said that every household in Ghana eats tomato every day, which tells you how important it is to our food culture. It is also key to our health and nutrition because it is a rich source of potassium and vitamins, so vitamin A and vitamin C. It has antioxidants, like lycopene and other carotenoids. I have seen our health and nutrition on the internet where people have extracted and vitamins, lycopene, and are selling them as pills. So these are things that you can buy. And it's counted to be very helpful for men, especially against prostate cancer. So I will encourage more men to eat tomatoes every day and are selling them as pills. So these are things that you can buy. And it's counted to be very it is also a major source of income for those who engage in its production and cultivation. And it has been said it has been said to be more productive than the production of other staples like maize, like rice, like walnut, yam, pepper, and dairy, probably even more than cassava. And it has been said, but its potential in Ghana has not been exploited, so or it's underexploited. So this is like one of the reasons why we are very excited working on the crop. I have put here a few pictures to depict its uses. So it's used in the salads. Now that our food culture is changing, Accra has become very cosmopolitan. We tend to eat a lot of pizza. It formed the base of the sauce that is used for pizza. And like I showed you, the lycopene can be extracted and turned into pills that you can take as daily supplements. The base of the sauce that some companies also do the extraction of the juice and like sell. I showed you, and so you can buy tomato juice. The lycopene can be extracted and drink and turned into pills. And so it has several uses as you can see over daily supplements. The base of the sauce that some companies also take a look at the processing capacities in Ghana. For processing capacity for the you can buy tomato factories in Ghana. We are having an annual throughput of more than 200,000 metric tons per annum. The first company that was established was Kwalugu in Ghana. It was established to mop up the excesses of the production, but now we don't have enough to feed the factory itself. And in fact, up to date, there's not a single of the companies that processes tomato from the raw tomatoes. Every one of them established to mop up imports tomato concentrate from China and other countries, the factories to be able to up to date the tomato paste. And so we have a lot of processing capacity that is not being used. Imports tomato concentrate from China. Annually, we are also producing about 400,000 metric tons. So this represents about 40% of the national demand. And then we import about 100,000 metric tons from Burkina Faso at the cost of $120 million. So this is money that can be channeled into further productive sectors of the economy. The reason why we need to stop the problem of the seasonality of tomato production in Ghana. And again, this is also what accounts for the high prices of tomato during certain periods of the season. Recently, I had to buy tomato because I got pancake. I had to buy 20 cedis worth of and again, this was only 4 pieces, and there was no small addition, no jar for me. And recently, I had to when it happens like that, and I have bought it a couple of times. It is so painful for me because I work to buy. And I have to go and buy tomato, and one is sold to me at 5 cedis. Small addition, no jar for me. And incidentally, when it happens like that, and I have bought it a couple of times, so we import so painful for me because $120 million worth of tomato from Burkina Faso. One is sold to me. Incidentally, the environmental conditions in the north of Ghana very similar to that. Incidentally, so the whole idea is if we were able to support or we are intentional and we are able to support the production of tomato in northern Ghana, we'll also be able to meet our national needs. Very similar. In 2022, WACCI held a workshop where we wanted to estimate the size of the tomato industry in Ghana, and we are able to support the production of tomato. And we found out that for us to achieve self-sufficiency, we need to be producing about 20 to 2.9 million metric tons, and that translates to about $1.5 billion. That can be money that comes to the economy producing. So tomato is a very big business. We must begin to look at that if we want to make progress in that regard. That can be money that comes to. So from several studies, from several workshops and engagement with value chain actors to look at that, if we documented the challenges that limit the production of tomatoes, and these include the fact that most of the several available varieties are low yielding, and especially the ones that the farmers are growing production, they are low yielding. On the average, the average yield in Ghana is between 7.5 to 10 compared to the regional average of more than 20 tons per hectare. You have high post-harvest losses, especially during transport, and this has been estimated to be between 20 to 65%. We will have very weak market linkages between the farmers and the market actors. And I mentioned this already, that you have high seasonal price variation. One tomato can be 5 cedis at some point, and you can get a bowl of tomato for 5 cedis at another time. We don't have cold chain facilities in the transport and in the storage of our tomatoes, hence the high deterioration in transport. There's also fierce competition from countries that subsidize production. Our supply chain is poor and inefficient, and then our local farmers also face competition from commercial and large-scale producers in countries where we import tomatoes from. Apart from these, there are some constraints that exist on the field during production, so we've grouped them largely into abiotic stresses, which are heat. And here we are talking most importantly about the night temperatures. I've had colleagues call me and say, I grew my tomatoes, they were looking very beautiful, and then overnight the flowers started drying and they dropped, and I couldn't harvest anything. And I said, yes, it is because the temperatures are high at night, and once that happens, it leads to flower abortion and flower drop, and you won't harvest anything. There's also the issue of drought. There's also the issue of poor soil fertility. For the biotic stresses, which are the diseases and pests, you see what I have listed here. Tomato yellow leaf curl is a major challenge in tomato production. There's also the tomato mosaic viruses, bacterial wilt, and the rest. Then you have high cost of production. This is because many of the inputs that are used in the production are imported. Even the seeds that we use, many of them are imported. The irrigation equipment, fertilizer, and then access to credit even is very high. And I added the last point, which is on the post-harvest handling and storage. And so among the abiotic stresses, like I mentioned, heat stress is one of the most important. And then we've had a lot of farmers making requests for heat-tolerant varieties. The heat stress can lead to disruption in normal plant growth, especially during the flowering. And when the high night temperatures are high, it can lead to 100% yield on the field. So the fact that we do not have heat tolerant varieties remain one of the challenges that the production system here in Ghana faces. So to that extent, production is only limited to what we call the growing season, or during the time that the night temperatures are cold. Once the night temperatures go up, you can't do production. And because of that, so it's like we have two production seasons in Ghana. You have the production that occurs in the south, and then when it is time for harvesting, that is when the prices are low. And then you have production that can occur in the north, but the farmers have turned over from growing tomatoes to other things. So the market women now have to go all the way to Burkina Faso to do the importation. So some of the things that we are doing includes building a platform that allows us to do gene discovery. And in doing so, we are collecting germplasm or different materials from different countries, including materials that are supposedly heat tolerant in those countries, and then trying to grow them here to see if indeed they are drought tolerant. Once we found out that they are drought tolerant, they can be released to farmers for production. We also want to set up a platform that, like I said, allows us to characterize, phenotype, and distinguish heat tolerant materials from susceptible ones. We're also trying to make crosses to determine which crosses give the best outcome in hybrid development. And then we're also setting up platforms that allows us to understand the genes that underline important traits in the crops. And then my colleague here, Daniel, talked about the gene editing platform, which is something that we are all actively pursuing. Apart from that, the director in his earlier speech talked about the varieties that we have developed here at WACCI. Now, I mentioned to you at the beginning that one of the constraints in the production system is the fact that the materials that the farmers grow are poor yielding or do not give high yields. And so to solve this challenge, we partnered with one of the private seed companies, Agri-Commercial Services Limited, to undertake multi-locational trials of several tomato varieties. And out of this, these materials were developed by the World Vegetable Center. We did the trials in 2 agroecological zones, which is the coastal savanna and also in the forest zone. And after the trial, we recommended 3 of the hybrids, which are the Anti-Dede, Legon tomato, and Tomato Queen. We made this recommendation to the National Varietal Release and Registration Committee, which is at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And these hybrids were accepted for release and commercialization. After the release, we received support from the Ghana Obatampa Cares project to multiply the breeder and foundation seeds. And then currently under the Food Systems Resilient Project, we have received support to develop these hybrids for commercialization. I just wanted you to know that this is the first time that hybrid tomatoes were released in Ghana, and it was done by WACCI. I think this is a point to clap. I have been signaled that my time is up, so I will show you our partners that we've been working with, or some of our partners that we've been working with on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajimandankwa. We move on to the Dokono Kenke people, the Banku Akple. You know, what we use for. Well, it's maize. I want to know the difference between maize and how do you even corn? He says it's the same. Well, let's put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Pelabu.
Afternoon, everyone. So my name is Pearl Abu, and I'll be presenting on maize. I know my colleagues have tried to lobby for other crops, but we all know maize is the most important crop. Everybody here would have eaten maize at least today. And we know that we can wake up, eat maize for breakfast, for lunch and dinner, and go to bed. So maize is the most important crop in Ghana. Yeah, so that being said, maize is the #1 staple food crop in Ghana. We can't do without maize. And we do a lot of production, but our production is not enough to meet our demand. So currently we produce about 3.5 million metric tons of both white and yellow maize. And when we talk about the white maize, Ghana is almost close to self-sufficiency. It means that we are able to produce enough to meet what we need, not like everything, but we don't import a lot of white maize. But when it comes to yellow maize, we do a lot of importation because there's a lot of demand from the animal feed industry. And also recently, people have realized that the yellow maize is more nutritious. It has beta carotene, so it's more desirable for food. I think we've gone to a place where we are moving from white kinke to yellow kinke, which doesn't used to be something that we knew in the past. So because of that, there's a lot of importation from US and Argentina, and that is a lot of forex exchange that we could save if we are able to meet our demands here in Ghana. So the yields are low. We are at about 2.6 tons per hectare, whereas in the research fields, we get about 5.5 tons per hectare. And we import about 27.4 million, majority of which are yellow maize. So yellow maize is becoming an important part to look at, although we are both considering developing varieties for both the white and the yellow maize. So the constraints to maize, the low yielding maize vary, but the important ones that apply to a lot of the maize growing regions in Ghana are low rainfall, which is low precipitation. So majority of our production is under rain-fed. Just a few farmers can afford irrigation. So when the rains don't come, then the yields are low. Last year, for instance, we know that we experienced a lot of droughts. And because of that, a lot of productions were very, very low in Ghana. And there's also climate change. It's not a new story. It's here and then it is with us. So we have to find ways to mitigate the change. And then some of the impacts of the climate change is the droughts. We also have high temperatures. And now it is also causing the surgence of a lot of diseases that we didn't used to see in the past. And also there is pest outbreaks here and there. And then the nutrient levels of our soils is also poor because farmers cannot afford the fertilizer to the expected levels to produce their crops. So we have to also look at some of the interventions that can let them use less fertilizer for more yield. So the overall research goal of the maize improvement program is to develop varieties that are climate resilient, that is both yellow and white maize varieties that will contribute to food security and also the industry part as well. So for the food security, our goal is to develop high yielding varieties. And for industry, we partner with industry to make sure that the varieties we develop are good for processing as well, and also for producing animal feed, especially for the yellow maize. And in terms of the agribusiness part, we partner with seed companies. So it's a form of job creation where the seed companies will also scale up the varieties that we will produce. It will create jobs for the youth as well. And then farmer livelihoods will be improved because all the farmer needs is more money in their pockets. They want to be able to take care of their families. So if you're able to give them varieties that can yield under the marginal conditions they have, then we know that we have done well. So now I'll go into a few of the interventions that we are using. So The first one I'll talk about is the double haploid maize breeding for drought tolerance. So I said that drought is a major problem in Ghana, especially in the northern sector. So we have to develop maize varieties that can withstand the changing drought conditions year in, year out. And for this, it means that the drought conditions are increasing at a pace where if our breeding program is not able to catch up with it, will not be at pace with it. So we have to use interventions that speed up the development of varieties. Because if we don't have speed breeding platforms, it means if there's a new emergence of something, and you have to go back to the drawing board and wait for about 5 years before you can tackle it, then by the time your variety is ready, the problem would have become too big to deal with. Yeah. So we are using double haploid, which is a speed breeding platform that allows us to develop varieties within 1 year compared to 6 to 8 years for the traditional breeding method. So for the traditional breeding method, you go through the conventional method and multiple cycles of selection. And with that, for you to develop a line, it could take up to 8 years. But with the speed breeding, like a double haploid, within a year, if you have all the irrigation available, you can do that within a single year. So that is one of the interventions we are using. So I'll later talk about some of the progress that we have made in that. And the next one is we are using artificial intelligence and machine learning models in breeding. So breeding is a game of selection. So the better you're able to select, the faster or the more efficient your breeding program is. So we are always looking for methods that can make our selection more efficient. It means that before you go to the field on your computer, you should be able to predict what you see in the field. If you have to go to the field and do all the evaluation before you see what the outcome will be, you will spend more resources. So we are trying to make our breeding more efficient, where we are using AI and machine learning models. So for the AI, we are using artificial neural networks, where we have some models that when we input the data in it, we can see that this particular trait is what we should look out for when we go to the field. And then for the machine learning models, we are using random forest, where we have some models. I'm trying to look it up. We have some models that you are able to input genetic data into the model. And then if you have a group of lines, you can say that this and this will give me this. So rather than taking two other ones, I focus on the ones that I know that when I put it in the field, the yield will give me something better. So that is what we are using. And then we are also using soil microbes as biofertilizer. So like I mentioned in the problem, farmers are either not using a certain level of fertilizer or they are using too much. So if they are using too much, it's polluting the environment. I think eventually we'll move to a place where farmers are able to afford fertilizer, and the problem will be sustainability. So how do we put measures in place such that even with little fertilizer, the farmer can get all the yield? The fertilizer and the other chemicals will not leach into our soils to cause pollution. So we are trying to use soil microbes as a biofertilizer. So from science, they see that there are some microbes in the soil that are able to attach or form an association with the roots of the plants. And then when that association is formed, they're able to take nutrients better from the soil compared to other plants that don't have association. So it means that our science has to focus on selecting those ones that have the genes for that favorable association. So what we are doing now is to screen some of our lines to see the ones that naturally form the association with the microbes. Then those are the ones that will push forward for our breeding program. So we want to get to a point where a farmer can put a plant, a variety in the soil, and even without fertilizer, they'll have something good to use. And because it's cheap for farmers, right? You don't have to buy fertilizer year in, year out. And it's also safe for humans because we are always talking about how safe is this food? Does it have chemicals and pests in it and all that? And it's also safe for the environment. I think I'll talk about this first. Yes, so with the seed funding, for most of the projects, we've done some piloting. So in the last 2 years, when I got the seed funding, we've been able to make some progress. So for the first one, which is the micro AMF, which is the using of the soil microbes, we were able to assess some lines in the greenhouse. So in a greenhouse experiment, we use our own Ghanaian lines in comparison with some lines from the US. So the US lines are known to have that symbiosis, which is they have the mechanism in place that the microbes can go into the roots and then the nutrients uptake is better. But we don't know any tropical lines in Africa that has that gene. So we are hoping that we will discover lines similar to the US one that will be the source of that gene. So we did the screening, and for some of them, there was no fertilizer. But the performance of some of them that had no fertilizer, but only the mycorrhiza, was comparable to others that had the fertilizer. So it means that there is something happening in the roots. So now we are at the stage where we are screening it under the microscope to see those attachments of the mycorrhiza in the roots so that we can do our selections. And then for the double haploids, we also did a piloting where we generated the haploids. And then we also initiated the chromosome doubling, which is done with colchicine. And also we used the artificial neural networks, which is the AI model and the machine learning, to predict yield performance. And we're able to predict some of the yields. And our goal is that before we go to the field, we know which ones to select to go to the field so that if we have smaller field sizes, we'll be more efficient. So with that, we are now trying to develop models that use the gene itself to predict the performance of the plants. Yeah, so with the seed funding, most of the work I explained were through collaborations because most of those technologies, we didn't have them in our program. So we partnered with Iowa State University, University of Cambridge, Penn State University, and then a university in Thailand. We've been able to attract some small grants to do the AMF part of the work from MasterCard Foundation. And while we talk about products, research and publications are also important. So our aim is also to publish in high impact journals as well. So we've been able to publish in some high impact journals. And this paper, for instance, is one of the leading journals in Frontiers. I also use some of the funding for skill development, which is research visits and training and workshops and conference presentations. Yeah, so it's through a collaborative approach. Most of the works we do in partnership with students from the crop science department and also some students from the undergrad level and also the master's level. And we also partner with the Crop Research Institute, the Savannah Agriculture Research Institute, and also the foreign partners, and also LCIC to scale up the varieties that will come out of our research. Thank you.
The concluding slide is making me miss the fresh corn that you hire. How did they call it? I don't even remember. All I know is that Metebu. Pardon my chief, you don't understand. Like I'm buying corn. We're moving on to the last presentation, and that will be done by Dr. Mavis Oseiwusu. She's going to talk about rice. Let's put our hands together for her.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be a last baby because all your elder brothers and sisters would have done the job for you. Okay, so the competition with maize and rice is more like Nigerian and Ghana jollof. We will never finish because rice is eaten in every home, just like maize. Morning, afternoon, evening. You could even have them as snacks. Okay, so let's just take it like that. Rice is like Nigerian and Ghana jollof rice and maize. Okay. So I'm Mavis and I will be presenting on rice, the progress we've made so far with regards to the seed grant that was given by WACCI. Okay, so rice is a global crop. It's a global staple and it feeds about 50% of the population globally. The African demand is increasing, and that's all due to the high population that we're experiencing. It keeps increasing. And we also have the issue with urbanization. It's not going to change. So it means the demand will keep rising. Ghana's needs, as at 2020, showed we needed about 1.3 million tons per year for self-sufficiency. However, we can only produce about 600,000 metric tons as at 2020. Between 2021 and 2023, we made progress. We could make some high yields and we were hopeful. Unfortunately, last year, after the 45% drop in imports between 2021 and 2023, now it has risen again, and we are projecting importation would increase by 20%, which is going to be an impact on our economic gains. So it makes rice a very important product. And it's important we eat what we grow. How many of us eat local rice? Great. Yeah, not just for the affordability, but now they actually process it well. They are clean and it's nice. I don't really see the difference between the local rice I eat and the one I buy, the imported ones I buy. So we are trying to ensure we eat what we grow. How can we do that? We need to improve on our productivity so we have enough to feed the nation. However, we have challenges. Some of these challenges have been well explained by my elder brothers and sisters. So it would make my work a bit more easier, which includes the high inputs, our poor yields, and then we also have the competition with the imported rice. That is one main challenge for Ghanaians. People would go for the imported over the local rice. But I'm grateful more people are going into the local rice now. So we aim to boost food security. How do we do that? By developing high-yielding, climate-smart, and disease-tolerant rice varieties for Ghana. We would realize in the next slide, some of the challenges we have pertaining to Ghana, which is salinity issues. So most of our rice is actually produced in the Volta region of Ghana, where we experience a lot of tidal waves. So most of the fields have salinity problems. So my aim is to try to produce or develop rice varieties which can thrive in those fields. And it makes it easier for us to restore some of the lands that have been abandoned, and it would help improve our yields. So high yield varieties would help maximize per hectare output, okay? And then the climate smart adaptation would also help in developing resilient rice, which are smart enough to overcome the droughts that we experienced last year to reduce our yields. We also have the disease-tolerant varieties, focusing mainly on rice yellow mottle virus and then rice blast. But the rice blast is still at a very early stage. At the end, we hope to be able to supply enough rice for our communities. And the approach involved has already been explained. So we'll be using gene editing, marker-assisted selection, and then the double haploid technology, which would help us accelerate the breeding process. So we actually tackle the problem when the problem is a problem, and not when it has already overcome us. The progress made so far with the seed grant. So currently, we've been able to identify some rice varieties or ones under development, which are very tolerant to the rice yellow mottle virus. So for the trials we did in Ghana, we found 2 very resistant lines. We found some 3 which are moderately tolerant, and some local varieties which are improved varieties like the Cry Amankwetia and okay, when I say cry, Prof laughs at me. CRI Amankwetia and CRI Enapa. Those are improved varieties from CRI, and they've also been found to have some moderate tolerance to the rice yellow mottle virus. So we did phenotypic characterization and we discovered these. Now we have chosen the very tolerant ones to make crosses to develop a population where the marker-assisted selection would aid in identifying lines which have the gene for the trait. The second project, which is on salinity, is also still at the very early stage. We've been able to do phenotypic characterization at the germination stage. So usually for salinity, it affects rice mainly at the seedling stage. Though there are some effects at the germination stage, the seedling stage is the most important part. And then the next would be the reproductive stage. Currently, we've done trials for germination and also for the seedling, which is still at the early stage, as I said. But we've been able to identify 2 lines, 1 line actually, which is both tolerant at the germination stage and also at the seedling stage. So hopefully, if we get it to be tolerant at the reproductive stage, then it holds a potential for developing salinity tolerance to rice. The seed grant, you would say, is small, but it has done a lot. It has also helped in attracting more funds because without it, this work wouldn't have started for it to get to this stage. Currently, the project has been able to attract partnership and grants of about $95,000. And these are under 3 different grants and partnerships. So there's TWA's UNESCO grant, which has covered equipment acquisition. We've also had some partnership with Cambridge Crop Science Center under the Gray Foundation, and that is what we are working on with the AMF, avascular mycorrhiza fungi, and how it can be beneficial as a biofertilizer. So it's very similar to what is being done in maize, as Pearl described. And we are taking this on with the MasterCard Cambridge Africa Foundation grant that recently was won. So that money is going to help us continue with the avascular mycorrhiza work. If you are taking notes, you would realize grants come with some sort of condition. So you would only get it when it's in the interest of the person given the grant. So I would urge at this point that our government also comes in, because if we want to work on what's important to us, then it's very likely the money has to come from us and not from elsewhere. Other collaborations also include genotyping rice blast cause and fungi in Ghana. So this is in collaboration with CRI, the Crop Research Institute, and also with the Sainsbury's Lab in Europe. I've also, under the WACCI capacity building, gotten the chance to get trained in genomics, which is all as part of the partnerships that we are growing. So I'm working with Equisat on an underutilized crop called finger millet, and it's with this that I'm gaining some experience next year and to be trained for genomics. What is the economic and social impact of all this? If you're able to develop rice varieties which are high yielding, resistant to stress, what does it do for us? So if we are able to grow our crops in low or underutilized soils, under saline conditions, we are still able to grow the rice in such fields. It would lead to increased yields, which would also lead to producing enough for food, feed, and also for the industry. Rice is not only used as food, it's also used in cosmetics. If there are women here, I'm sure some of them soak rice and they use the water to either wash their hair or their faces. Yeah, it does magic. So rice is also used in industry, not just as food. So it would be of great use in the industry as well. And that would reduce our imports, meaning we would save more money for the economy and also make more money for farmers. So we call on more partners because this could only be achieved over a short period of time. I think from 2023, July. From then till now, it has been possible through partnerships and collaborations. Not all partnerships and collaborations has to be money. Sometimes it comes with some mentorship or you training the person or contributing in terms of helping the person with some part of the research, which is not doable in their country. So we call on people to partner with us in all levels, financially and then intellectually. We also implore on the government and other funding institutions to invest in us so we can do much better than what we are doing now, so we can impact the world and improve our food. I would say thank you to all these people. So all these people are students who have worked on the project. They have trained themselves through doing the project. They've been trained and they've also contributed to what we've done so far. And thank you to all the partners and funders.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mavis Osewusu. So basically, what we took during the cocoa break and what we'll be taking during lunch, almost all the crops have been discussed here. So when you are eating, kindly take note. It's time for us to move into the open forum, and that will be coordinated by the head of Department Crop Science, Professor Salome Tatunyako. Let's put our hands together for him.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe all the presenters deserve another round of applause. Now we clap for them. Yeah, thank you. So this is the open forum, and I want to take comments from everyone based on the crop of choice. Based on the presentation, something has to be done in Ghana for Ghana to be food secure, so that we don't need to import any of these products. Because if you look at the figures that were presented, we see that we are giving our money out to a lot in dollars. So I didn't see any amount in cedis. I'm surprised, but we are in Ghana. Everything was quoted in dollars. So I will take comments, so you can just signify by raising your hand. And then if you know the individual to which you want to address the comments or the crop of choice, you just mention it so that we'll be brief on time. So I'll be taking comments. So you can just signify by raising your hands. Thank you. I'm ready for so many comments. Yes, so I'll take you first. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a really interesting morning today that we had overview on so many value chains, so many crops, and what's happening in Ghana. What are the different researches happening? It's really eye-opening.
Yes.
My question is on the rice value chain to Dr. Mavis.
Okay.
I come from India, which is our staple food is rice, and we have a very, very large coastal line. We are a peninsula, so 3/4 of India is bordered by the ocean. So when she has mentioned about the salinity affecting the rice and the kind of research that is happening, one interesting thing that was mentioned was also ICRISAT.
Yeah.
ICRISAT is the organization. I come from the place where ICRISAT is headquartered. So they are specialists in really providing the very good rice seedlings for providing the good harvest of rice. So I want to understand what's different in Ghana that the salinity in the atmosphere is affecting or bringing the rice production down.
Okay.
Vis-a-vis compared to what we are facing in India, because it's more salinated. Like I said, it's 3/4 covered by ocean. So it's all salt, and I come from the coastal place. So would like to understand what is it that is different somebody has in one of the presentations quoted that a good example is a good example. If we already have a good example, why don't we just copy?
Sure.
So if we are not doing that, then we would like to understand what is it different in Ghana.
Thank you very much. I'll take another one before probably there'll be any response. Yes.
All right, thank you. So this is on tomatoes,
Yeah.
right? And I think we've been struggling as a country to get tomatoes right.
Yeah.
We have some 3 very scalable tomato greenhouse projects in the Dowenya area. Agri Top, we have Agri Impact, we have the NEIP greenhouses, all of them failed, where about 60% of that production line was tomatoes. Now we talk about replication from what Burkina Faso is doing. The weather conditions are just the same, but we still can't even replicate even with similar weather conditions. With the Batampa program, for example, which I led at the Ministry of Finance, where the tomato desk supplied thousands of seedlings to smallholder farmers. Not a single farmer puts those tomato seedlings in the ground, and those were improved varieties. And so when my colleague mentioned that, I was like, well, oh la la. And for me, the question is that, do we have to produce everything that we eat? Because it looks like in Ghana, when there is a praise about something that we are importing, when the issue with Niger happened, we said, oh, we have to produce onions. So we've not specialized in a single commodity that can take us out of economic obscurity into prominence. I've seen what the Thailands have done. I've seen what Philippines has done. There's one commodity that they specialize in. So can't we just identify one? Because resources are scarce for all the needs that have been stated here, which is why government can't even know what to prioritize. So government is spreading thin. We are seeing thin results, and we are not maximizing on maybe maize or even rice, which each of them, if we just focus the next 10 years we can see real economic transformation, which we can then put into other areas and then see those. So I think sometimes my problem is for tomatoes, why can't we leave it to the Kenyans and the East Africans since they are good at it? Why can't we leave it to Burkina Faso? And these are the questions I asked, that what are we really good in that we can maximize so we don't spread thin with the little resources we have?
Wow, wow, this is serious. Okay. Let me see if there'll be any responses. Okay, so okay, let me see if I'll get a response for the rice.
Okay, so I will reiterate the question the way I understood it, so I know I'm answering it right. So you asked what is different from India to Ghana?
Yeah.
Okay, so usually we have environmental conditions which differ. I will be very happy if you could link me up with somebody in India, then I could get some saline tolerant rice varieties and do some trials to select for. Because I know India has a lot of salt tolerant rice varieties, and that's how come they are still doing well in the saline environments, but we don't have that in Ghana. And it's mostly because of lack of partnerships, like I mentioned. So if I should get some genotypes from India, it could go through the trial, and then we could select for some tolerant varieties which are well adapted to Ghana for accelerated breeding.
Okay, thank you. Yes, bro.
Scientists. The Indian one that you're talking about is influenced from the ocean. For us, it is the bedrock, which is acid sulfate, right? So during the rainy season, then you have your salinity. Dry season, it will become acidic. So they are slightly different. So if she doesn't do the breeding here, Ghana will run into trouble.
Okay, Tomato. Yes, you can respond.
I would like to respond to your personal comment. Please, what's your name? Stephen. Yeah, so I like your idea. I think it is good that we specialize, because when you specialize, You can concentrate efforts on one thing and become a master at it. But this is food. And the issue about food is if Burkina Faso decides that they won't sell tomatoes to us one day because their president has been attacked by somebody and they had to close borders, then we are in serious trouble. So because of that, we can't outsource our food production to anybody at all. Thank you.
Okay. More comments on that, on the tomatoes?
Well, I want to comment on what my colleague Stephen spoke about. I think he used India as an example.
Sure.
India specializes in rice and onion and potatoes. They do not import. For food security purposes, and we are gravitating to the technology area and where food can also be used for a lot of bioweapons. And as a country where we consume, and you and I know, my brother Daniel spoke about gene editing and what you can use gene editing to do. We are living right now in the era of serious technology advancement. And if you consume rice and maize, which of course the data shows clearly maize is the highest crop we consume. And if we import our maize from Brazil and it's edited in a way that we all begin to think in one direction, we have to be serious, because these are not something that is futuristic. These are real-time activities that can be done. So I think if you look at those who went to the war, okay, from Iraq, and the kind of food that was developed for them to help them to heal fast. And there are evidence to show. There are evidence also to show how dumped children are now intelligent through some of this food that has been edited for them. So if some of these things can be done, we can't leave our stomach to some other country to produce our own food. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Malawi. Okay.
So I think I wanted to find out from the gentleman that asked them. Yes, you raised a myriad of issues when you were speaking. And one of the issues I wanted you to highlight was the fact that you said farmers were given improved seeds, but none of them cultivate or planted it. You see, we need to understand what the issues are and not just assume that we are spreading things as a country. Like all others have said, we cannot outsource R&D to another country and expect them to speak for us. Our palate, how we eat, the things we do as a country is us, it's Ghanaian. It's not Burkina Faso, it's not India, it's not Thailand. It is us. It is who we are as a people. And so we cannot change how we taste our food because we assume that we don't have enough resources to be able to do what needs to be done as a country. So we need to understand, why are the farmers not growing these improved varieties that were given to them? Then we are addressing the issue. Why are we growing imported varieties and not fixing what needs to be fixed in our countries? If WACCI has released 3 tomato varieties, why are we not partnering with institutions so that we commercialize these varieties and farmers are cultivating these varieties because they were done for us and by us? So we need to understand what the problems are and address them in a step-by-step approach, rather than trying to say, we don't have enough, why don't we broaden why don't we level or find a way to spread our money? So let's understand the problem and really invest in research, but connecting it to impact and having these kind of conversations so we understand what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take maybe two more comments. Yes.
Okay, so it's a comment. I've been in Ghana for a while now, and I must say that people like I'm from Nigeria. So I must say that I've noticed that people like, they prefer imported items, tomatoes, rice, and so many other things, as compared to those indigenous varieties. So I just wanted to raise based on, I'm talking to Dr. Mavis now. Is there something being done to influence people so that they accept indigenous varieties more? So that when the rice that is tolerant to the salinity stress is developed, so people accept those ones and really eat them as compared to those ones that are imported from Thailand, India, or wherever else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What can be done? Yes, one more comment. Take one more. Okay, all right. So I want to, okay, you want to just be brief on it, please. Okay.
Yes. So I think maybe I was a bit misinterpreted. I think what I'm saying is that first of all, there's a difference between food security and then food self-sufficiency, right? So Singapore imports 95% of their food, but they are not food insecure, or they don't have to be food self-reliant to be able to eat. I think that's number one. So it's about the economic transformation that allows people to afford food. So affordability is key. Now, what I'm speaking to is the fact that we're importing about $2 billion of food every single year. Of 3, I even like, it's even better for me when it's 3 billion. Good. So at 3 billion, about $400 million is what we're importing in rice. Another 400 million averagely for tomatoes, another $400 million for poultry. So for our staple diets, which is rice, stew, and chicken, we are actually importing almost 50 to 60% of it. So that's a national security issue. Agreed. My point is that if these are staple diets, let's focus on perfecting the art of being self-reliant in them. So I gave an example where why don't we just focus on rice? But of course, we have a myriad of them, from cowpea to even maize. Even maize, we're talking about self-sufficiency, where we are not able to go beyond self-sufficiency into surplus, which actually powers industry. So my focus here is that let's identify a certain number of crops, achieve self-sufficiency in it, solve our food security issue, and then propel us towards economic. That's what I'm referring to. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. I think comments. Okay, Prof. Nate. Last one.
The fact that we currently need this center. The reason being that the soils that we have in our country do lack zinc. No matter what you do, we cannot have zinc in our staples. And especially for rice and the carbohydrates, they have phytic acids, which will not allow you to absorb your zinc, even if you add it in your meal, right? So you need a center like WACCI to, especially the vegetables. If you don't do that and you rely on import, you'll have a problem, right? So it's not just about the quantity, but also the quality. Thank you. I'm just telling you that the reasons. Right.
Question. I remember the projected yield was about 5 to about 6 tons or so. And then when it got the X-Vita, I think at the time was a Legon rice. Okay, all right, great, yes. And then when it got into the field, they were realizing about 2 to about 3 tons. And then I also see the same with a lot of the projections or maybe the actuals of what you've researched into and what has been modified to be even 49, etc. Now, I know, when they were in Nigeria, they were realizing about 60 tons per hectare for tomatoes. They came to Ghana and it cut to about like 30 or so. So what's the disconnect between what science and research come up in the innovations that you've done to show how these yields are really high? But what's the disconnect between that and then what is actually planted in the field? Because I thought your research would combine the reality of the soil with the reality of the inputs that goes into your research. So that's my final question. And this is WFP's question.
Okay, final response.
Sorry, that one I can answer as the Dean for Agriculture. Now, when we developed the Legon Rice 1, it was on the vertisols. So at times it's a problem with MOFA, the extension unit. Vertisols are different from the other soils, the Utisols. Sorry, I don't know. Let me not use the technical. The vertisols are soils which hold water, and then when they are dry, they become very, very hard. So the Legon Rice 1 was developed on those soils, for those soils, right? So if you want the 5, you can, at times we even hit 8.9 tons per hectare. Then it has to be on the vertisols, which you don't have anywhere else in the country apart from the Accra Plains. So when you are going to grow them on soils up north or western region, you are not likely, and there is no way you will ever get it, unless they come and do the breeding. I hope you get it. So when they want to breed for places where the soils are acidic, then you need a place like WACCI. I'm not doing advocacy here, but then you have to grow on the vertisols before you can take. And India, they have a lot of the vertisols. That's how come they're able to produce a lot. For us, we have vertisols only in the Accra Plains. There is nowhere else in Ghana that you can get the vertisols apart from the Accra Plains. I hope I've been able to answer that one. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for ourselves? Thank you.
I don't know what to say. I won't say anything. And so in winding up, we have the honor to have Dr. Abdul Tenkwano, Director General, ICIP Kenya, to give us the closing remarks. Then we call it in. Yes, please. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for him. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I feel trapped after hearing what has been said, because I'm from Burkina Faso. And I would like to challenge you to think about the history of our countries. The most populous ethnic group in Burkina Faso is called the Mosi. And they come from Gambaga in Ghana. So we are your children. So we enjoy things coming from you, and we send you back things that we produce for you. So there is no competition here. Let me now wear another hat, that of having had the privilege, thanks to my friend Eric, to be part of the success story of WACCI. I was there when there was a meeting in the office of Sam Ofe, discussing how to get WACCI started with Van. And later on, I was, thanks to Eric, invited to come and talk about my mistakes as a plant breeder and how to tell our young people not to do the things that we did. It was a very exciting journey. The beauty about WACCI, it's in the name. The Africa, there is no N at the end. It means that it has been open to people from all over the continent. When I came and spoke about my mistakes, I had students from Kenya, from Uganda. These are not in West Africa. Yet we work together. The second thing is that it brought talents from all over the world to come and speak about their mistakes, maybe. So it's a unique model, and I feel very privileged to have been part of it. Thank you, Eric. In fact, one of my proudest moments was not about the content of the training. I used to tell the young people that what they were taking away from WACCI was not just the knowledge, it was the bonding, networking, establishing an army of breeders across the continent. And it's not theoretical. I worked for CORAF and was privileged to start a project on breeding with funding from the European Union. There were about 50 participants to develop that project that was cutting across Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Senegal. About 25% of the participants were people I had seen here at WACCI. That is an impressive impact. And I think we should continue to magnify that networking aspect of WACCI. And we need to support it from different sources. I was tempted to speak about my own organization, but I won't do that because we have the same model as WACCI, only that we do not confer degrees to anyone, but our force, which I call our brain force, are the young Africans who operate in our laboratories in a center that is called the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, founded by a Kenyan professor, but most of the staff are from Africa, from different countries, and the average age is around 45, very young people, and our students are the ones doing the work. And they get degrees from the universities that we are connected with, and I think we should strengthen that link with the University of Ghana. Many countries contribute to a fund that is called the Regional Scholarship and Innovation Fund that is currently chaired by the Minister of Education of Rwanda. But Ghana is contributing, Burkina Faso is, Cote d'Ivoire is, Benin is. So why can't we simply establish that bridge between WACCI and us? It's true that we are more than agriculture because we look at the overall landscape. Agriculture is done in the environment, and the environment is full of insects, right? Can you imagine a world without insects? The beneficial ones exist, those who are also detrimental to our health exist. So our center works on controlling those insects that are transmitting disease to animals, to plants, and to humans, even malaria, dengue, we do that. It exists since 1970. It's not very well known in West Africa. And my specific mandate is to bring it to this part of the continent. And I hope that Eric will help me to, to climb on your shoulders of giant and take the walk together. With this, maybe one thing that I would like to challenge us to think of, because Eric said it, it's not about just doing the work we do, it's changing our minds. A breeder works with genes, but it's more important for us to work with our minds. It's possible to make an Africa that will not be spending money bringing food from outside. As a continent, we don't have to, as my brother said, rely on our domestic production for every country. But if we have good mechanism to ensuring that nobody puts a barrier, then it will work. Just an example, Ebola hit some countries a few years ago. They lost every seed that they had. And it was the solidarity of the rest of the countries via CORAF that allowed seeds to be moved from Nigeria, Ghana, Niger to those countries, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, not as grain, but as specific varieties adapted to the ecologies where they were to be grown. And that is how the region demonstrated that solidarity is possible in crisis, but we can also work on solidarity to take advantage of economic opportunities. Thank you very much, Eric, for making me part of this.
Thank you so much, sir. And all too soon. Is it soon? We've come to the end of a beautiful interactive program. And we would like to say a very big thank you to the World Food Program. They came with the huge team. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to all of us. Today, we have not just heard about seeds and science, we've witnessed impact. We've seen how research, when backed by bold vision and strategic investment, can change lives and impact and shape nations. So on behalf of my director, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to every one of us here, our media friends, the organizing team, everyone. Thank you so much for making WACCI's DSRA a success. Let's continue to push the boundaries of African science. Let's keep turning seeds into impact. Thank you. And on that note, please, we have lunch for you. I know it's not been long since we took the cocoa break, but WACCI is very generous. So we have lunch. Just where you took the cocoa break, kindly make your way there and then take lunch. Until we meet again, it's bye from WACCI. Thank you. Please, we need to take a group photograph. Pardon me, it escaped me. We come up here and some will be down as we did the first time. So we got all of us together. Please come up. Oh, no, not with all of them. Please come up. Hey, what Jamie life, mommy? Are you?
It's about, we are looking at the yield. Yeah. It's about how we started the quarter. There you go.